What is up, everyone? JD here. I hope you're doing well today. Got a review for you. Let's get into it. Okay, guys, so full disclosure on this, I actually am recording this for a second time now. The first one, I wasn't really happy. The audio was acting funky. I couldn't get the microphone to work right. I wasn't really happy with the quality of the video that I did. So a lot of this stuff I already went through. I did the complete video, sat down to do the editing, and I just really was not happy at all. What we have in front of us today is actually going to be the Asher Knives LiL Buddy. This is going to be my very first dedicated fixed blade in the inventory. I know a lot of you that tune into the channel are into folders, but I think you might want to check this review out because there's a lot of things that make this one very interesting. We will keep with the standard format. We're going to do size comparisons, profile, weigh the knife, and then we'll jump into my thoughts and impressions. So let's go ahead and kick it off. Stick around. Trust me, you're not going to regret it. First, we're going to compare it against the Migron Montreal. This is what I would constitute as more of a medium-sized EDC for me. It's not quite as small as the Para 3, but not quite as large as my Shaman. So this is like right in the middle. And as you can see here, the LiL Buddy is a little bit smaller, a little bit more compact. We're going to also bring out the Civivi Amorite. This was more of a full-sized EDC. And again, just to give you an idea of where the Asher LiL Buddy is falling as far as size goes. I mentioned the Para 3 here. That is very comparable. LiL Buddy is a tiny bit longer, I think, on blade. Let me see. I can't really remember this. Actually, guys, these are coming in identical. They are coming in identical. And just in case you are not familiar with the Amorite, I know that is a little bit of a newer model, very similar to the Rat 1. Here it is against the Spyderco Shaman. Again, counterpart to the Route 1. So if you're not familiar, there's your size references. I'm not going to really do profile. I don't think that's really applicable here because it's a thin knife. Well, maybe it will help. I didn't do it in the last video. Let's do it here. Let's do it here. So your thickness is coming in pretty equal to the Shaman, and then here it is against the Montreal, which is a little bit of a thicker knife. And you can see there, it is just a little bit thinner. So it's got a good profile to it. Let's do some measurements as well, in case those knives did not help you or you're not familiar with the ones that I've referenced that they're identical to. So your overall length coming in at 7.2 inches, your blade length coming in at 3¼ inches, and your cutting edge is coming in at just over 3 inches, just slightly over 3 inches. And we'll do a weight. We'll do the weight for the knife, and we'll do the weight for the knife and the sheath. It doesn't really feel that heavy carrying it, and I don't know if that's because, so 3.9 ounces, and lost the sheath here. With the sheath, which we'll talk about in a little bit, it does take it up over 5 ounces, but I think that's because you have an all-steel clip with steel hardware. I think that's the reason that it adds so much weight to it. But I think it carries well because of its length. Let me go ahead and just jump into it. First, I want to talk about the G10 handles. These handles are done very nicely. You got your micro milling here, or not even micro milling, you got really good cross cut. So that cross cut really adds to the texture of the knife, giving you really good ergonomics and very confident, inspiring in the hand. Now, it does have very good transitions here from the G10 to the tang of the blade. You do not feel any sort of transition. You don't feel really any blemishes whatsoever. So whoever is OEing this for Asher, they did a really good job here. In hand, very comfortable. Nice grip. I'm able to get almost all 4 fingers on there. I do hang off the back a little bit, but I do have very large hands. So it's not a lot that hangs off the back. It is very comfortable. It feels very natural in hand. I appreciate a little bit of contouring that the scales offer here. So you can see they're just a little contoured. The jimping here doesn't really play any sort of factor, or jimping, sorry, the cross-cutting doesn't play any kind of factor for me. The way this goes in and out of the pocket doesn't present any type of issues. This does have S90V, has a very beautiful stonewashed blade. I think it looks really nice. Unfortunately, the lighting that I have for my face kind of blurs that out a little bit. Actually, it might be the overhead. Yeah, I think it is the overhead that plays with it a little bit there. But it is a beautiful stonewash. It has a very good factory edge. I did notice when I went through, it caused it to have like a very tiny snag when I went through the cardboard cutting downstairs. But outside of that, I had no issues with it whatsoever. I haven't had an opportunity to strop it yet either. You got jimping on the back, so when you want, you can put your thumb out here. You can use the tip and do some detailed work. It does have a slight drop to it. When you're going to use that, you do have to kind of come up about here. So if you're tabletop cutting like so, you need to get to that tip. You got to get to about this angle here to get those draw cuts, which really isn't awful. It's not as good as a sheep foot or a Warncliffe for sure, but really not bad for what you're getting with this one. I did check, these are T8, and then for the sheath here, the clip screws are T10, so a little bit bigger here to switch this from righty to left-hand carry. Let me go ahead and kick it down to the garage real quick, and we'll talk about, or we'll show the little bit of cutting that I did with it just to demonstrate what it looks like from the factory.
All right, let's hit it with the Asher Knives LiL Buddy. I'm really excited to check this one out. Nice factory edge. Yep, nice factory edge. Let's see, I got some leftover cardboard here. Let's start with this one here. You got your single ply cardboard. Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, this thing is nice, solid, good cutting. S90V should have a really good geometry or edge retention on it. Yeah, feels good. Let's see, if this isn't enough paper, I'll grab the other piece here. Ooh, oh, it's got some adhesive on it. Where is my rag at? It's got a little bit of adhesive on the blade. Let's try that again. I think I went into the tear there. Yeah, I just went into the tear. Let me grab a fresh sheet. It might be a little better to do a fresh sheet. Yeah, good to go. Let's kick it back up to the table.
All right, so there's your cutting demonstration. Again, a really nice performer, really nice size, and I'm just really happy with this one. I was looking for something that would be a really easy size to test and something that would be affordable for me to check out. Before I get lost, let me get into the sheath. You have a nice fold over sheath here. You can see they just folded it over, pinched it here. They gave you a drain hole right there in case you're cutting in the rain or anything like that and water needs to run off of the blade. It's going to run right out of there. It should minimize the amount of moisture that gets trapped in there. You do have a reversible clip. You do also have the option to take this off and install like a fold over strap, like a hanging strap for scout carry if you wanted to do that as well. I like this personally because it allows me to carry this knife very similar to how I carry my folding knives. So when you look at this one, and I'm going to use the Shaman, and I'm going to use the Para 3, and what I'm doing here is I'm kind of lining up where it would fall in the pants. So a little bit more length than either one of these in the pants pocket, and you do have a little bit more width than either one of these when they're hanging down in the pocket. What I've noticed with this one, because I do throw my wallet down in that pocket, when I sit, I notice that it pushes my wallet into the sheath, but the sheath being that it's Kydex is not going to really do any damage to my wallet, so it doesn't personally bother me at all. And then again, from this line forward, this is what you're going to see hanging out of the pocket. Now, when you're sitting, what happens with this one is it goes from being in line with your pants leg to when you sit and you come up, what happens is it kind of sits up, so it does stick out. But when you're moving, honestly, what's happening is it's going from being in line with the leg to kind of just sitting like this along your hip. So this comes up a little bit and it goes up the inside of the hip a little. And then when you sit down, what it really does is just kind of rotates to the side of the hip. So that's what I was really curious about with the fixed blade, is how was it going to really fit? The shirt covers over it. If you're wearing your shirt out, obviously if you tuck your shirt in, it is going to show the handle, but it is a black handle, very low profile, very low key, very minimal. I think people would know what this is if you saw it coming out of the pocket, but it doesn't snag on the shirt when you have when you're wearing it over the shirt when you're sitting down, and you're probably only going to be sitting down in the car when you're out and about, in the store, or whatever you're going to be walking around, and it does a good job concealing that if that was something that was of a concern. What I did notice with this as well, when you take the pocket clip, if you take it depending on the way that the cut is, so on my jeans, it rides perfectly up along the seam of the jeans, and I can still get in underneath of it into the pocket. So that's something I wanted to touch on that I didn't in the original video. The other thing too, when I wear these with khakis, which has a slightly different cut, it actually, when you ride it up just a little bit on the pants pocket, so you don't have it all the way against the seam, but you bring it up and have a little bit of a space underneath of it, you can get into the pocket, and then this actually contours inside the rest of the pocket the way that the pocket comes up. So the pocket kind of, let me flip it this way so you can see. The pocket kind of hits, like if you put the seam here, the pocket, the way that it kind of curves up, if you have that pocket clip out a little bit and you're leaving the space over here, it actually nestles into the pants pocket and only the top part of the handle sticks out. So I thought that was interesting. You know, I was just playing around with how it goes in the pocket just to see. I also really like that they gave this extra space here. I actually wouldn't have mind if they made it like kind of bullnose towards you, because it does make it nice for you to simply pop it out of the sheath. Whatever cutting task you need to perform, whether you're cutting your fruit, getting into a package, if you needed to, detail work, cut something on a table, and then just slide it back into the pocket, it works nicely. It's very locked solid. So much so that if you just pull it without pushing, it's going to pull it out of the pocket with the clip. The clip does a good job retaining, keeping it in the pocket, doesn't feel like it wants to fall out, but it doesn't hold it strong enough to where you can pull it without pushing. You do have to have some sort of intention to pull it out of the sheath, which I like. I don't want to pull the knife out and think about whether or not I need to be grabbing the clip and pull it out. It comes out easily. It has plenty of clearance, so it is going over the pants pocket very easily. I have had no issues with it coming out, going in, any of that. All of it works really, really well. And, it is not the thinnest slicer I have in the collection, but it's not the thickest either. It's a very medium geometry with a nice slicey edge. Like it moved through the material very well, but it didn't slice like a hollow grind or like a Spyderco with a tall flat grind. It was just a little bit more robust than that, and I think that kind of makes sense for a fixed blade, because I feel like with this being almost a full forefinger grip for me, I would easily be able to use this hard use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up with a couple of other cutting exercises for the cut test video. I don't do those cut tests that I do are not edge retention tests. Those are more so for just how does it perform regular day-to-day cutting tasks, breaking down your cardboard, cutting through something on tabletop, etc., etc. So I have an idea of a couple of other things that I'm going to add into that cut test for this one, but I'm really excited. Circling back, I wanted to try to test, because I've seen a couple of people talk about carrying a fixed blade on a daily versus it being like a camping or a bug out bag or something like that. So I wanted to check one out. This came in at a great size, guys. Coming in at just over $100. It was within reason of the price point that I wanted to check out a knife for. Like, that was what I was willing to put into it to get something that balanced what you got as far as materials, build quality, carry, performance. S90V with G10 handles and a sheath. I feel like that is a really good value. I'm hoping the edge from the factory is not burnt or anything like that. I hope that it lasts and I can just drop it, which I do need to strop. Again, I do think that there was like somewhere on the edge, maybe right somewhere. Oh yeah, somewhere in here. It feels like it's got a little tiny blemish. It's going to be really hard to tell on camera. I would need like a magnifying glass to show that, I believe. Good sharpening tool. The plunge grind is back here. Let's use this. So the sharpening tool on this is back here. So that's how much you have. Let me do that again. So that's how much edge you have for sharpening. So it's got a lot of edge here. I honestly feel confident that this is one that I'm going to get a fair amount of carrying out of. Is it going to be carried as much as my folders? It may not. I just need to spend a little bit more time with it to determine that. I've had it about a week. I've carried it 3 times. I've done some cutting tasks with it, which I really like. It feels so solid, guys. Just cutting with it is very confident, inspiring. I'm going to try to do a little food prep too with this, just to see how it does. Again, it's not a very thin slicer. Usually when I'm cutting my apples, oranges, etc., I like something that's really thin and slicey. But I'm just curious, like in a pinch, camping, out and about, whatever, will this work? And that's what I was interested in. So the Asher Knives LiL Buddy is a very interesting one. I am curious to see what you think about this one. If you're into folders, hopefully you stayed through this video, watched it, and were able to appreciate it a little bit. Let me know what you think about the LiL Buddy down in the comments below. Shout out to everyone out there that likes, comments, uses those links, and is subscribed. Special shout out to my members. Thank you for your support, guys. I appreciate it. I love you. I hope all of you have a fantastic week. And until next time, peace.